I'm honestly not surprised that Shiki turned away Shura. I mean, like, just his general personality and everything that we've seen of him, I didn't really see it possible. But I mean, I was thinking more of like the broad idea, like the what we know as the readers that Shura's done. But I completely didn't even really consider like Shiki just wouldn't like him purely based off the premise of like him wanting to destroy all the machines and seeing them more like objects than individuals. Because like, you know, Mishima has done really well in Eden Zero at giving the robots, the androids and stuff, the whole premise of like, even if they're machines, they're still they're still essentially people. He's done really well at fleshing that out and really kind of, you know, building the premise of it within the series instead of just like having it in there and saying, well, these robots are, they're the same thing, and you just have to kind of accept it. But he's built off that since the start, and Shiki's a really good piece to help build that up, just based off of like his backstory and how he interacts with like androids and robots and stuff. So it completely made sense why he tried to talk to Shura. There was like a short conversation, and he doing what he could to converse him over to like, all right, maybe if you're able to make this promise, if we can kind of have like a deal between us. But Shura wasn't having that. Again, I think Shura's personality is based on like how he grew up. I believe that he, as the whole prince of this whole empire, looks at it more of like a value system. Like, only certain, like, because he's literally like the number 2 person in the entire kingdom. And not only that, I mean, he's heir to the throne, so he's in a way number 1. So like with that setup, you have him only seemingly valuing people that he likes or people that he sees as valuable. That's why the second he found Shiki interesting, he wanted to be friends with him. And it's more of like a thing, I would assume, of like, well, I see you as somebody of value, so, I want to have you around, kind of thing. But Shiki wasn't having that when he was talking to him. They're like, oh, we can even beat Ziggy together. And that's what people are theorizing that. I couldn't see it happening. Again, like, Shura is too far gone in like how he is for Shiki to want to be friends with him. When you kind of compare Shura to, say, like, you pull over, kind of look at, in Fairy Tail, you can kind of compare him maybe like to Gajeel, or, if you want to compare him to Laxus or anything. Either way, like a character who has a similar setup of the main character, almost like an enemy to him. I think Gajeel's like a better setup than Laxus, but like neither of them were really evil. They had their own problems, but they weren't just indiscriminately killing people with like a smile on their face. And Shura doesn't seem to have any value for the lives of others around him. The only ones he seems to have any value for are the ones that he sees as valuable. So Shiki just wasn't having that. After he realizes that, Shura, there's nothing really that, there's nothing salvageable here. He just smacks his hand away. He's like, I can never be friends with somebody like you. And again, I understand him, because like Shura is just, he's a vile dude. And I know some people have like had the idea of him having like redemption. I really don't see it. I really don't see him having a redemption spot, because when you compare like a character, when you compare somebody like him to another character from, like, compared to another series of somebody who was killing people but had some form of redemption. Again, you look at someone like Jalal, but he was brainwashed, and it wasn't something that he really had, like, it's not something that he would like normally would have wanted. It was just because of how he was manipulated. Or you look at someone like Gaara, Naruto. He, like, his was a different setup, because like most of the, really the people he killed were like guys that were either enemies or like people that attacked him. He wasn't just murdering women for chuckles. And I haven't read through Naruto in a long time, but I don't remember him ever just kind of indiscriminately killing people for no reason. It was more of like people that had beef with him, or that had conflict in some way. They're usually the easiest ones that I can kind of think of off the top of my head. I mean, even in nobody really in Rave Master had like the same setup as Shura and then got redeemed. It's just like, no, Shura's too far gone. I legitimately do not think that he could be salvaged to be an ally. I could see him being like an adversary like maybe by the end of this arc, the whole Empire and the Aoi Cosmos falls, and maybe Shura and like a couple of his crew end up going out on the search for Mother and become like an antagonist, like a reoccurring antagonist for the Eden Zero. I think that would be the best thing in my opinion, because again it would keep Shura in the story, because I do like him as a bad guy, but I don't see him becoming really an ally. I can just see him being like a longer lasting opponent for Shiki. But we'll see on that matter. Maybe he's just going to be within the Aoi Cosmos arc, but we'll see on that. After that, he summons all of these robots. He kind of just calls more of these damn dolphin-headed robots. People, anybody that's small lore, I do not like dolphins, so it was an extra level of distrust that I have now for Shura. But he has them going. He's like, these guys are going to get dismantled tomorrow anyway, so they can do one last thing. And Shiki's upset because he's like, you guys didn't do anything to deserve this. They're just kind of doing what they do. These robots don't seem like they don't seem intelligent. It seems more like if you had like the droids from like the Star Wars prequels. The little skinny droids that are just kind of like, they're fodder. Like, they don't have the intelligence. I know that sometimes you get like a comedic scene with like those guys, but at the same time, it's not like C-3PO kind of thing, where like they're pretty much sentient, or like in Eden Zero, like the Shining Stars and stuff, or relatively any of the intelligent robots we've seen before. After that point, it's just like they're in the ship. Shura just slams into it, starts doing his thing. He doesn't even give the Shining Stars enough time to put on their battle dresses. I actually would be very curious as like how he would fare against the battle dress versions, because I think he's stronger than any of them individually, but multiple of them there. You have Witch, you have Sister Ivory, you have Hermit. I don't really know exactly what Hermit would do in this situation. Legitimately, they need Pino there. They just need to have Pino. And if Pino EMP'd, they could just kind of bum rush him and like try and hold him down. I know like the Shining Stars would get incapacitated, but if you have the rest of the crew, and especially Wise, I mean, like, I was gonna say, like, he usually has a gun, but we even see him in this chapter with a gun. Maybe just, like, you don't even have to, like, kill Shura. You just kind of maybe shoot him in the legs or something. Maybe just shoot him in his arms so he can't do gravity manipulation the same way. After that, we have, like, all these mirrors in the area, and shortly into that, Homura gets some form of, I thought she got possessed because I saw the spoiler picture where it showed one of the oceans and she's like in the mirror. But it seems like what she does instead is it's like she draws out somebody's dark side or something, like maybe like somebody's negative emotions. I'm guessing it's like if you're a really good guy, it flips. It's kind of like Nirvana over in Fairy Tail. It's like it swaps light and dark. So if you were a bad guy, it takes your darkness and turns it into light, makes you more good aligned. And if you're a good guy, it messes with your alignment, makes you a bad guy. That's at least my guess as to how this works. It could just be some form of manipulation or some form of mind control. I'm very curious as to that, because I have looked. No, I mean, I'm sure everybody really that's frequent on the Eden Zero content has seen the information on the oceans when they were revealed as the winners of the contest. And you have like Callum is like Atomic's power. You have Lyra has like it was dice in the initial concept, but it's cards in the manga, because we had Emperor Nero had dice abilities. The machines altered it a little bit. So I'm very curious as to how this next part is going to go. I didn't really expect the oceans to kind of come in so soon, but I guess it makes sense, because like what else would they be doing? And with that, it's like, okay, well, where are the other guys? Because we don't know where any of the other ones are. We just have this one. Callum is the one that I'm very interested to see, because I mean he's got a really cool power just by itself. Like atomic manipulation, it's a really cool ability. I'm hoping the person he fights. I know some people want Jin because of the whole like Callum's backstory is similar to Jin's. Is like he's from like this higher family and something happened, he became a mercenary. But I want it to be Wise. I think Wise would be a cooler opponent for him, and get in the Arsenal suit, be fighting a dude who's pretty much just borderline erasing things, atomically deconstructing and destroying things. So it'd be really cool to see like how he kind of combats that. And I think it would make the most sense of like attack-wise, if, he's sending in stuff and they get messed with, and it's something that he'd have to overcome. Because if it's Jin, he's going to be using all these wind attacks, and it's like, I don't really know if you can atomically mess with wind. I have absolutely zero idea on that. That's one of those things. I assume so, but I am not 100% certain on that. Either way, it was a pretty fast read chapter. Like, after the point you got to the dialogue at the very beginning of Shiki and Shura talking, it went by really quickly. It was just one of those chapters. It was way more of like a character moment and setup. Like Shiki's whole moment with them, having Shura attack the Shining Stars, and he seems to want to destroy them. I guess he's upset that Shiki didn't want to be friends, so he wants to destroy the the robots he's got with him and all the machines and stuff in the Eden Zero. So how exactly they're going to defeat him, I'm guessing, or well, in this moment, I don't think they're going to defeat him in this confrontation. I'm hoping that Shiki versus Shura will be like his big match of the arc. Otherwise, like Ziggy, I don't really know how Ziggy would really come into play unless it's going to be Ziggy versus Nero. Because they're like, even Shura and Shiki teamed up, I don't think could take Ziggy. I really don't. So we'll see on that matter. I think Shura is the better option to have instead of like another group fight. I think it'd be cooler if Shiki just gets a straight one-on-one, an opponent that he's very close to in combat abilities, and that somebody he's going to have to do like, a surpass your limits, limit breaker kind of moment in order to overcome. I'm really hoping for that. We haven't had a fight like that really for Shiki yet. Like most of his fights have either been shorter scuffles, ones where once he was like with Orcs, and he went into overdrive, he just demolished him. His fight with Drac and Joe, it was more of that, the main character got their first power-up form, so it was like a complete washing after that point. I really want to have that, couple chapter one-on-one battle. And again, like I compare him to Gajo, because like, they're not the same, obviously, but it's kind of like their position in the story of being that, the adversary for the main character who's got a power set similar to them, and is seemingly their first big one-on-one opponent. Because Natsu was a similar way up until the point where he fought Gajo, similar to the Haru against Shuda. I get my guys mixed up. But after that, I am very hyped to see like how this goes. I've enjoyed Shura so far. Again, that's why I'm hoping that he's not confined to this arc. But if he keeps a continuous presence in the arc, we get a lot more on him, and we do get that big one-on-one battle. That's how I could see him being confined to just this arc could still work out. Obviously, I'd like to see more of him, but if he's somebody who's only going to be within this arc, that's not like automatically a bad thing. It doesn't automatically just kind of like ruin it for me. So we'll see how it goes. I trust Mishima in this matter. And I really look forward to see how like the oceans and stuff really play into things. We haven't even gotten to Ziggy really active in this whole big battle. We don't even have really the other Interstellar showing up. The only one here is a racer, and he doesn't seem to be a fighter. He seems kind of like power-wise like a long-range kind of just dangerous almost artillery-like kind of character, because like he's got to charge up, and this after he uses his OP ability, it looks like he's pretty worn down. So looking forward again to how this plays out. I think one fight that I really want to see come up, I really want to see how exactly the Shining Stars really just kind of like combat against Shura, because there's no way that they're going to just get one-sided. They're going to have to figure out a way to get in their battle dresses and fight back, because like if it's this easy, he's going to destroy them, and the only way out of that I would otherwise see is if Shiki just dispatches these robots really quickly and then goes back to Eden Zero. Maybe if he catches wind, we can, see him maybe drop overdrive and rush there, because I think if he was aware that his ship was getting attacked and like what Shura is doing, he probably would get super pissed and then go over there. As far as I could tell in this chapter, he's unaware. So we'll see. Anyway, other than that, don't comment below. Thumbs up the video, but from the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But that, appreciate it. And that fumbled words real quick. I appreciate everyone's already subscribed. Thank you all for listening. Bye.